Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to be here today with devotees, I believe primarily from New Jersey. And thank you so much, Ramachandra Prabhu, for having me. Before I begin speaking today, I seek the blessings of all the devotees present today.
I think Maharaj got disconnected. Just give a couple of minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Today's topic is there's a book on this actually. This topic. The book is called The Second Chance. It's a real story. It's a true story mentioned in Bhagavatam, and this was one of the first books that I read actually when I came to Krishna consciousness. It was an eye opener for me. So I would highly recommend those who have never seen this book. You can Google, you probably get it on Amazon, or you could just reach out to me. It might be easier. I can get you a copy, but it was amazing. I'm not a big reader. I don't really read books so much, or never used to so much, but this book changed my life completely. So do get a copy of this, Srila Prabhupada's Second Chance. How it could change a person from being so much in a mood of goodness to completely going to the mode of ignorance and not realizing that death is around the corner. And then what happened after the person encountered death is in this story. It's actually a story of all of us. Today or tomorrow we would go through it. But the best part is that it gives us an opportunity to prepare ourselves for that moment. So just let's chant till Maharaj comes back. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Maharaj is back. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, some technical difficulties here.
No problem, Maharaj.
So yes, yeah. So I wanted to speak something from the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, text 28 is a very auspicious part of Srimad Bhagavatam because this is a section of Ajamil, and Ajamil is a incredible personality who had a very near-death experience. And this experience is very instructive for all of us. And it gives us great faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. And it gives us faith in the importance of chanting the holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So let's read text 22. This is an instruction from, I think today we'll do text 22. It's, maybe I'll share my own screen if you give me screen sharing capacities. Yeah, 22 is good. Let's chant this first. Etavan evalokesmin. Etavan evalokesmin. Sam dharma parasmitaha. Sam dharma parasmitaha. Bhakti yogo bhagavati. Bhakti yogo bhagavati. Tannama grahanadihi. Annama Brahmanadibihi. I read the synonyms. Etavan, this much. Eva, indeed. Loke asmin, in this material world. Hum Sam, of the living entities. Dharmaha, the religious principles. Haraha, transcendental. Smritaha, recognized. Bhakti yogaha, bhakti yoga or devotional service. Bhagavati, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to the demigods. Tat, his. Nama, of the holy name. Grahana Aribihi, beginning with chanting. Translation. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. Purport. As stated in the previous verse, Dharmam Bhagavatam, real religious principles are Bhagavata Dharma, the principles described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, or in Bhagavad Gita, the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam. What are these principles? The Bhagavatam says, Dharma Projita Koitavotra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are no cheating religious systems. Everything in the Bhagavatam is directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam further says, Savaipam samparo dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksajay. The supreme religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with Tan Nama Grahana, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the transcendental qualities of the Lord. This way, one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. One can come to this understanding of the Lord, how he descends into the material world, how he takes his births, and what activities he performs. But one can know this only by executing devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktimam Abhijanati. Simply by devotional service, one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. If one fortunately understands the Supreme Lord in this way, the result is Chakvadeham Punarjanma Naiti. After giving up his material body, he no longer has to take birth in this material world. Instead, he returns home, back to Godhead. That is the ultimate perfection. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 8.15, Mamupecha punarjanma dukalayam ashasvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha Sangsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion, they never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this section of Srimad Bhagavatam is about the story of Ajamil. And Ajamil, he was born in a very high class Brahmana family, and he was taking care of his mother and father. And when he was a small child, he was assisting his father in the different fire yajnas and ritualistic ceremonies. So one day he went to the forest to collect wood for the yajna fire, and he saw a low-class prostitute and a low-class man, a low-class Shudra, they were embracing. And Ajamil's mind became bewildered, and he also desired to enjoy that prostitute. And he did whatever he could, whatever was required, and he brought that prostitute home. And that time he was a young man, he was married, and he had his wife leave the house. He had his parents leave the house. He was Bahut Papi Loke. He was a very sinful person. And he committed so many different sinful activities in order to support that prostitute and please her. Nothing short of murder and robbery, arson, all kinds of horrible crimes Ajamil committed for the sake of this prostitute. And this went on for many, 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 many years up to his old age. And he had many children through this prostitute also. And the youngest child, he named Narayana. And he always liked to be with Narayana. Whenever he was eating, he would call Narayana to come and sit with him. And whatever he was doing, he was fully enamored with this child. So it was getting time for him to leave his body. He was getting ready to die. He was lying in his deathbed. And all of a sudden, these horrible forms of the Yamadutas appeared in order to remove his soul from his body and take him to hell, take him to Yamaraj for sentencing. Sentencing. I was listening to one lecture by Srila Prabhupada today. Prabhupada was saying how we have so many court systems, like you all are in New Jersey. So you have a court system in Bergen County. You have a court system in central New Jersey. You have a court system in all the different towns and villages of New Jersey, not to mention New York and Pennsylvania and Virginia and all the states of the United States. There's an extensive court system. And in the court system, each court will have a magistrate, will have a judge. So it's not at all far-fetched to understand that there's a universal judge who judges the criminals, and that's Yamaraj. So whatever sinful activities we in this material world, we may be subject for judgment from Yamarajji. And actually the section in Srimad Bhagavatam before this, that is about all the hellish planets and all the suffering that one goes through after performing sinful activities. So one goes to the hellish planets. So there's Ajamil lying in bed in these gruesome forms. They have fangs, sharp teeth, they have sharp nails. Their eyes are red and burning like fire coals. And they have whips, they have chains, they have ropes, and they bind up Ajamil's subtle body, and they're about to pull his subtle body out of his body. And his eyes widen in great fear, and he cries out for his youngest son, Narayana, Narayana. And upon chanting the holy name of Narayana, the Vishnu Dutas appear, four wonderful forms. They have four hands, each hand holding the different signs of Lord Vishnu, the chakra, the gada, the padma, the, the chakra, the gada, the padma, and the shanka. And they have beautiful Vijayanti malas. They have beautiful smiles, and they tell the Yamadutas, stop. You cannot take him. He's chanted the holy name of the Lord. And they forcibly cut the ropes that are binding up Ajamil. They cut those knots and they release Ajamil. And the Yamadutas are frustrated. They never before had their order of Yamaraj be foiled. So they were completely bewildered. Then those Yamadutas, they return to Yamaraj and they say, Yamaraj, Yamaraj ji, we tried to take Ajamil, but these Vishnu Dutas came. Our understanding, O Yamaraj, is that you are the greatest controller of the universe. Is there someone greater than you? And Yamaraj admitted that yes, there is definitely someone greater than I, and that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Lord Brahma explains in the Brahma Samhita. Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karma Karma. So Yamaraj begins to explain about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and also the importance of chanting his holy names. And that is when we're brought to today's verse that Etavan evalokesmin punsam dharma parasmritaha bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama grahanadibihi. That Etavan eve lokesmin, that in this material world, the ultimate religious principle, dharma paraha, the ultimate religious principle, dharma paraha, is the bhakti yoga, bhagavati, devotional service, bhakti yoga, bhagavati, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to the demigods, and taught his nama, his holy name, grahana adibhi. The importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord is stressed by Yamaraj himself. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Yamaraj is giving us this very good lesson that this chanting of the holy names is the most important activity that we can perform. In the Brihad Naradiya Purana, it is written, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. That in this age of Pali, we should chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. There's no other way, no other way. no other way. So despite chanting these holy names of Lord Narayan, Ajamil, despite having performed so many sinful reactions in the past, then he was able to overcome all these sinful reactions. This is also explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, 14th verse, which explains Apana samsmitim goram yanama vivashobhanan tatat sadyo vimuteta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. That we're living in this material world, samsmritim, the samsara chakra is going on. Apana samsmritim goram, that we're apanaha, we're entangled, samsmritim, in this hurdle of birth and death. This samsara chakra is going on. We've been in this material world for millions and millions of lifetimes. Sometimes as a human being, sometimes as an animal, sometimes as a fish, sometimes as an insect or a bird, or even a plant. And it's goram. It's very, very complicated to get out of this samsara chakra, this cycle of birth and death. Yanama vivashobrinan. But just taking the name Nama, Vivasho means even unconsciously. Like Ajamil, he was not crying out Narayana because he knew it was the holy name of the Lord that would remove his sins. He just unconsciously called out Narayana, Narayana, because it was the name of his son. So even unconsciously chanting the holy name without knowledge of its potency, still one will get so much benefit. His sins will be eradicated. Yanama vivashogranan, the tat sadyo vimucheta. And sadyo means immediately. Ekdam bahut jaldi hai. Sabhi pap katam ho gya vinash. His sinful activities will be finished. Vivashoganan tato sadyo vimucheta yad bibeti swayam bhayam. So this holy name is feared even by fear personified. So Ajamil, he chanted these holy names. He was freed from the clutches of the Yamadutas. He was saved by the Vishnu Dutas. So we should also take inspiration and constantly chant so that we'll never be touched by the Yamadutas. And we'll always be ready to leave our body because it can happen anytime. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan, jazante ante kalevaram, tam tam eva titi ponteha, siddhartad bhava bhavataha. Eighth chapter, Bhagavad Gita, text number 5. Text number 6 explains Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavan, that whatever we remember at the time of death, that we will attain without fail. So we should remember Krishna at the time of death. So when we leave this body, we don't have to take birth again in this material world. We can go back to the spiritual world. And what's the best way to always remember Krishna? To keep his holy name always on our tongues. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Ajamil, he had this near-death experience. He was almost captured by the Yamadutas, but he escaped. By chanting the holy names, he was rescued by the Vishnu Dutas. Thus, at the end of this section, Shukadev Goswami sings a very beautiful verse. Tasmad Sankirtanan Vishnu Jagad Mangalam Amhasam Mahatam Apikorhavya Vidyaikantika Nushkitam. Therefore, Tasmad Sankirtanan Vishnu. Therefore, engage in this Sankirtan, this congregational chanting of the holy names. Jagad Mangalam Amhasam. Jagad means universe. Mangalam means auspicious. It's the most auspicious thing in the entire universe. Jagad Mangalam Amhasam Mahatam Apikorhavya. Even though it's a great sin, one overcomes that sinful activity. Vidyaikantika nishkritam. So we should understand this. It's the ultimate atonement for any sinful activity. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is able to uproot even the reactions of the greatest sins. Therefore, the chanting of the Sankirtan movement is the most auspicious activity in the entire universe. Please try to understand this so that others will take it seriously. So once again, I appeal to all of us, let's take this chanting very seriously. Let us endeavor to constantly chant the holy names so we'll be safe from the Yamadutas and prepare ourselves for our onward journey. After leaving this present material body, let us travel to the spiritual world. Prabhupada has a book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. And this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets, describes when we leave our body by remembering Krishna, we can travel not to take birth again in this material world, but to go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any comments or questions?
So devotees, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you can even type it in the chat box. You can send it to me and I can read your question to Maharaj. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to think if you have any question. Any question is okay to ask. Your question could also be somebody else's question, just that somebody may be shy to ask. Before we get into the questions, I'll just do a quick overview of our programs happening at ISKCON Bergen, for those who are joining us for the first time. So you can visit us at iskonofbergen.org. This is our website I'm displaying on the screen. And this coming Sunday, we have somebody who looks like me and has my name speaking this Sunday, Bhagavad Gita 8.14. Please note that starting this Sunday, January 1st, our program will begin at 4:30 p.m. So 5 o'clock Aarti, 5:30 class, 6:30 Prashadam. And we'll be closing the door an hour early as well. Then we also have our annual, the New Year's Eve program, this 31st, which also starts at 6 p.m. and will go until midnight. We're going to have a lot of kirtan. We will be having some skits, dramas. We'll be having some games, prashadam, and we'll reflect on the full year, some of the achievements from this year. And you can also click on this and join some of our Friday programs, which happens in various cities around Bergen and other cities as well, outside of Bergen. Then we have our weekly 15-minute reading on the same Zoom call, Bhagavad Gita, and daily morning chanting sessions from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This video, today's class, will be on our YouTube channel, ISKCON Bergen's YouTube channel also. So if anybody has a question at this point. Anyone?
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Baba.
Hare
Go ahead.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All grace to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the very wonderful, simple yet eye-opening lecture, Maharaj. Maharaj, I was just skimming through the purport for 6.3.31. And there it states how one should be very careful to not use the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a way to counteract your sin, keep committing the sin, and keep chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and doing it back and forth, back and forth. So Maharaj, what are some practical steps that we can take? Because that tendency is there that, okay, I'll do this today and I'll chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra tomorrow, so it'll be fine. So some practical tips. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you so much, Madhav Prabhu. So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking how to avoid the offense of committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. Is that correct?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there's art and science to this chanting to achieve the maximum benefit. Part of that science includes avoiding offenses to the holy name. Now, the name is non-different from Krishna. Krishna and his name are non-different. Abhina, Abhina Tvam, Nam, Namino. Because we can make seva aparads, we can offend the Lord. We can also make nam aparads, we can offend the Lord's name. In the Bible, it is said, hallowed be thy name. So hallowed means holy. The Lord's name is holy. We say the holy name of the Lord. Every year we have our World Holy Name Festival. It's a holy name, it's a special name. So the name has to be treated properly with respect, understanding that the name and Krishna are non-different. Abhina, Abhina Tvam, Nam, Namino. So in the chanting of the holy names, there are 10 offenses. Actually 11. First, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for the propagation of the holy name of the Lord. 2, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu. Third, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Fourth, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures in pursuance of the Vedic version. Fifth, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. Sixth, to give some mundane interpretation on the holy names of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9th, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy names. And 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. 11, it is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Any person who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, which is Krishna Prema. So number 7 is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. And that is the offense that you're referring to here. That is like an elephant's bath. An elephant goes as dirty, he takes a bath, and then he rolls in the ground, he becomes dirty again. And then again, repeats the process, repeats the process. We should not use the holy name as like a sponge or a bar of soap to clean up our sinful activities. We should not, that's offensive. That, yes, the holy name removes our sinful reactions, but we should not utilize the holy name as our chela, as our servant, that we commit sin and then the holy name will clean it up for us. That is offensive. We should have great respect for the holy name. Sometimes a devotee may commit sinful activities out of make some kind of mistake, or he may be subject to illusion, or he may fall under the sway of Maya. He may forget Krishna. Sometimes the devotees also will make a mistake. He may be bewildered. He may be in illusion. He may commit some sin. It happens sometimes. It's rare, but it does happen occasionally that a devotee will accidentally commit sinful activity. But the devotee is safe because the devotee is constantly chanting Kirtaniya Sadahari. So that should be our mood. Let us continuously chant. In the event we make some mistake, the holy name will take care of everything. But we should not have the consciousness that let me commit any kind of sinful nonsense that I want for my own selfish, personal sense gratification and enjoyment. Whether Krishna is pleased or not, I don't care. Let me do whatever I want. And then I'll just chant the holy name. I'll become free of sin. That kind of consciousness is a offensive consciousness, and it will not give us the result that we're looking for. So the important thing is knowledge. We should have this knowledge. Om Ajnana Tremendasya. Our eyes should be open with the torchlight of knowledge. Having this knowledge, understanding the tattva, this is called Nam Tattva, understanding the truth, then we can overcome this tendency. Of course, the association of sincere devotees around us, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sarva shastri koi, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Having the association of devotees around us will also protect us from this kind of mistaken, false, and dangerous consciousness of utilizing the holy name to overcome our intentional sinful activities. Does that answer your question, Madhav Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj, definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Or kuch chahiye?
Maharaj, I have a question. So
Yes, Ramachandra Prabhu.
when one is in a hospital or at the time of in a critical state, and sometimes we see that they've almost lost life, and the doctors put these pads and they give them some electric current. I don't know what in medical terms it's called, and then
It's called resuscitation.
Right, and then they come back to life. So people ask that. What does that mean? That they died and then they came back to life, or the soul was already there, or if the heart stopped, that means the soul is no longer there. So can you just touch a little bit upon that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. Thank you for bringing that up, Ramachandra Prabhu. There's something called NDE. Scientists have investigated this NDE, near death experience. Near death experience, NED, near NDE, near death experience. So this is actually fairly common when people are on the operating table undergoing an operation, and their heart may stop beating in the midst of the operation. They call it a flat line because there's a graph. It's like bip 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 bip, and then the heart stops at just flat lines. So there's some common experiences people have when they go through this NDE, near-death experience. The soul, the Atma, may leave the body, which is what happens at the time of death. Dihinosmin yatade he kormaram yovanam jara, tatade hantara praptir, dirastachan muyati. At the time of death, the soul leaves one body and will enter into a new body. So in this case, the soul has left the body, but has not yet entered into a new body. And there are accounts of the patient on the operating table after being, and the heart starts beating again. Then afterwards, when the operation is finished, they're asked, they're interviewed, what happened? And it's very common. They say that I was in the operation table, and then I felt myself rising above my body, and I could look down and I could see my body. I could see the doctors. I could see the nurses. I could see what they were saying. I could hear what they were saying. And they were able to actually repeat some of the conversation that the doctors and nurses had had during the operation, which is amazing because they were fully under anesthesia. And then sometimes it's mentioned that they were going through a tunnel towards a light, and then it seemed it was not the right time to leave the body, or sometimes they were given a choice: would you like to leave now, or would you like to come back? And they opted to come back to the body, and then they completed the operation and they returned to their consciousness. So this is called the NDE, a near-death experience. And it demonstrates how we're not this body. This body is just a machine, yantra rudani mayaya. It's just a yantra. It's just like a car, and the car has a driver. And when the car gets old, the driver gets out of the old car and gets into a new car. But in this case, the driver is in the old car. He gets out of the old car and then decides to get back into the same old car again, drive it a little bit more before finally leaving. So this is called the NDE. What do you think, Ramachandra Prabhu? Would you like to add something more to that?
No, very good explanation. Thank you very much. Because that's very much very commonly asked, and also an extension to that is, you already covered it. That is it the soul's choice that it left and came back? And many times people wonder that as soon as the soul leaves the body, they have another body. But our Shastras explain that the very next body is not ready right away. And there are certain rituals. And also doing the Shraddha is also very important to deliver the soul to a higher destination and all. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Anybody else has a question?
Yes, Prabhu has his finger up.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Ashish. Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just wanted to piggyback on the same, answer you gave with the near-death experience. I have watched a few videos, and almost everyone, nobody ever mentioned of Yamaraj, or it's like biting thousands or 100,000 scorpions or anything. It's just like they all had good experience leaving the body, very comfortable, very soothing. And when they came back, they explained it that way. It's like this, the journey with outside the body was so pleasant. I mean, so they all would say, it was a very good experience for them to leave the body and come back and tell us how they felt. Is there anything that nobody ever mentioned about the Yamraj, or nobody ever mentioned about the scorpions or anything? So how does that align with our Shastra?
Yeah, thank you for bringing up this point. Actually, there are some reports from the nurses in the hospitals that they report when people are getting ready to leave their body. Many times their eyes are like wide with fright, and they get like shakes, and they get very disturbed. It's not uncommon at all, and they're frightened. They see they see the Yamadutas, and they're also Yamaraj sends some hell hounds of hell. These sometimes there are dogs. These like these dogs from hell, and they're like sniffing out where's the soul, and we're going to capture him and cause him pain. So although you've seen some videos, the ones that you've watched have all been positive, but don't be surprised if there are also videos available where people are not having such a positive experience, because that's also the case. That's also been reported that many people are in great fear at the time of death, and even to such a they're so much afraid they pass urine and stool upon the time of their departure. They're so much afraid. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. So we have to see the full picture. We've maybe only exposed to a small percentage of the perspective, and for some reason there's positive, but there's also the negative aspect also.
Thank you.
Death is, for most people, death is no fun. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. Yeah, these are the four suffering situations that we all experience: birth, death, disease, and old age. But by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Anantaram, we can overcome these activities by engaging in devotional service. We can overcome the situation. I'll just conclude with one shloka from Lord Rishabdev in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, text 1. Maybe you can put it up on the screen, Ramachandra Prabhu.
Yeah, what is, can you please repeat again?
551. 551.
Okay.
Rishabdev is out coming up. Vande Deha Vajamya Kashtam Tamam Arhate Vidpujamve Tapodivyam Putra Kayen Satpam Shudyad Yatmad Brahma Sokyam Tanantam. Translation. Lord Rishabdev told his son, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever.